Hello, hi. Good afternoon. Um, Apologies for the delay. How we doing? I've got three people in the chat already. Fantastic. JD, it's been a minute. How you doing, my friends? Apologies for starting a couple of minutes late. I've only just finished work recently, so I was a bit all out of sorts. But here we are. I'm just gonna let the chat fill up a little bit. It's only got one person. I think a couple of people have dropped out. Yeah. Um, Just bear with me, guys. I'm just going to have a quick sip of my refreshment here. Okay, I'm back. What we saying, fellas? Philip, of course. The the context of the thumbnail. So what happened was, I just randomly checked my emails a few days ago. Um, the email address that is assigned to my YouTube channel, so I get all of my YouTube stuff through that. And basically, I was being threatened with a suspension from the YouTube partnership program for whatever reason, which I'll get into. But obviously, that was a little bit how can I say? It was a little bit of a shock because you guys know I haven't been too active on my channel. So to see that I was getting a suspension, I was thinking, huh? Like, how does that make sense? What have I done? And um, yeah, it was. I dug a little bit deeper because at first I was thinking, like, is it spam or is it some kind of issue that everyone's going through? But no, basically, YouTube wanted to suspend my channel from the partnership program so I wouldn't be able to get monetized. Bear in mind, I've been monetized for like the past 2 years now, and I've never really had any issues. I've had a couple of videos get blocked, but I've never had any long term uh, issues regarding like my ability to monetize other videos. And I don't know whether it was. I assume it was the algorithm because it was kind of stupid their rationale for suspending me, but or trying to suspend me. But apparently, it wasn't clear that the content on my channel was originally my own, and there was also an issue of it being overly repetitive because there are certain criteria that you have to um, that your content actually has to I guess abide by to be monetized. And yeah, for whatever reason, like I know my content is low effort, but I didn't think it was that low effort to the point where the algorithm picks it up and thinks that it's just being recycled content from another channel or that it's created by AI. And so I had to do a short video. Get this, it was like a school project. I had to do a short video um going over my channel as a whole, like, oh yeah, this is what my channel does, this is why my content is how can I say it warrants being monetized. And I had to give an insight into how I edit my videos. And I kid you not, the way I edit my videos is so simple. I have a background, a still background, which is also the thumbnail usually, which I edit myself. And I have a voice file, voice recording that plays over it. So yeah, my really tiny, minuscule, niche, low effort channel almost got suspended. And so at first, I'll be honest, like I was, it shocked me initially because whenever there's money involved in stuff, I always get a little bit, I'm overly careful with it. Um, but when I found out, oh, they're just going to suspend my channel from the partnership program, I was like, you know what? Do I really care? Because I make such a minuscule amount of money from YouTube. And don't get me wrong, I like online enterprise. I'm really proud of the fact that I have a channel that makes me money. It's essentially passive income. It's not a lot, but it's the principle. I was like, you know what? Is there really much point? Because I'd still be able to upload videos, but I wouldn't get any money from it. But then I was like, actually, no. Like I worked my backside off, creating like hundreds of videos, which took me thousands of hours. That's one thing that people don't realize is that if you have a 10-minute video, that 10-minute video didn't take 10 minutes to make. A lot of the time, in my experience, a 10-minute video could take upwards of an hour when you consider all the different components. And so I've got like 400 videos on my channel, there or thereabouts. I assure you, that is not 400 hours worth of work. That is much more. Um, and I was like, you know what? No, I created this channel. I, plugged long enough and hard enough to enjoy some money from it. And so yeah, I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this appeal and I'm going to win it, and I did. So here we are, um, back as normal. And I figured, you know what, I'm not going to take it for granted anymore. I'm going to engage with you guys because it's been a while as well. I don't think I've done a live stream since like August, and a lot's changed. A lot's changed. My situation is pretty much just completely different now. But yeah, that's the story. And you know me, I like to have a laugh with my thumbnails. So there we are. There's the story. Um, the 286 project, talking about the book Tough by Greg Everett. Yeah, so I recommended that on my other channel. Really good read. I'm glad you enjoyed it. And you actually spoke to him about it last night. What, did you reach out to him on Instagram or something? Because I know Greg Everett. Hold on, guys. Sorry about that. Um, yeah, so he is quite readily available on Instagram, and he takes a lot of questions. Obviously, he's a weightlifting coach. That's how I followed him. Firstly, was through that. And then I was like, you know what, this book of his, Tough, interesting, because obviously this isn't boxing related, but to be honest, I don't really care. Let's just talk about whatever this live chat. Um, yeah, the thing is, like with self help, and I guess that does pertain to boxing slightly because sometimes you want to what's the word? Boxing's a very mentally demanding sport, and so you want to make sure you're in a good kind of mind frame and mental state. And sometimes people rely on self help books, stuff to help them make sense of that outlook or change their outlook on life and their mentality. And I feel like it can be a little bit corny, when you have your yeah, I know some people like him, but like your David Goggins, what's the other guy, Tony Robbins, all these like self-help gurus who are usually men, and they have their particular philosophy of dealing with life and stuff. It can be a little bit corny, I think, which ultimately the practice of self-help, there's nothing to be ashamed of. All self-help is admitting that you're not perfect and that you want to try and be better. And I think that's a very humble and noble thing to do, because you're stepping away from your ego and you're saying, look, I'm not anything amazing. I want to be better, for myself, for my family, whatever, for my passion, my profession, so on. Um, but yeah, sometimes it gets a little bit corny with the self help, and what I've found as well is, particularly on online communities or online communities, um, some people, they fall into a rut of just constantly consuming self help content, be it books, podcasts, videos, maybe even seminars, and they don't actually break out of that rut. They just constantly, new self-help book, new self-help seminar, new self-help video, new self-help content creator that they follow. It's like, okay, when you actually going to extract the lessons from this self-help content and actually apply them and break out of the the, the content consumption cycle. And that's one thing that I really like about that book, Tough, is firstly, it breaks down like what is toughness, because everyone has a particular image of toughness in their head. But one thing I really like about Greg Everett's definition of toughness, or part of his definition, is just being capable, being self-sufficient, self-reliant, not having to rely on other people or external factors. You know, that's I think that goes a long way in improving your confidence in yourself, and therefore how mentally robust you are, um, and how steadfast you are in your own ability, because you're like, you know what, I can do this. I've done plenty of other things in the past. So yeah, that's really interesting. So 286. So you're going to do an interview with him. That's great. That's good to hear. I know I have seen him previously do interviews on other channels that are relatively small. I'm not too sure how big your channel is, but that's great. Um, what would that be covering? Would that be the book? Will it be weightlifting? Will it be anything in particular? Um, but yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye out for that. Look forward to tuning in. And Philip, appreciate that, man. Feels like it's been a while since I've spoken to you guys, so I've got nothing better to do on a Saturday. I've actually got a week off next week. I'm so looking forward to it. I haven't had a break in a while, so my break starts today. As I say, I only got in from work about an hour ago. Um, also add that through those help. I can't speak today. Though self help is important, living the journey yourself is even more important. Too many self help people like Goggins and Jordan Peterson are idolized. Yes, exactly. That is exactly my point. Is people start to lose sight of exactly why they are on that journey, and instead they get caught up in the personalities, and that happens so much across the board as well, particularly in boxing. Let's say, right, I have no attachment to any fighter in boxing, any personality in boxing. You know why? Because I don't know these people. I don't care about these people. I watch them purely for entertainment. And now, obviously, you can appreciate someone for what they do. You know, appreciating someone, particularly someone who's like a master at their craft. So like, I've been really complimentary of Alexander Usyk openly on the channel. And when he beat Tyson Fury, I said that's good for boxing, because this is someone who dedicated his whole life to one thing and is willing to continually test himself at the highest level in that pursuit. And that sends a great message, obviously, to the younger generations within boxing, but also just in life as a whole. You know, dedicating yourself to something, especially as a man, because men these days, young men like teenagers who I work with firsthand, so I feel like I'm pretty informed of this, they have nothing to dedicate themselves to, and that's why they're complete donuts a lot of the time, because they have no direction in their life. They spend all their time stunting and fronting and not having any substance at all. And I'll be honest, like, it's at the end of a week, I feel quite jaded, because I can accept that people have different strengths and weaknesses. So some people might not be the most academic, other people might not be the most athletic, but they usually have something that redeems them, some kind of quality, some kind of talent, something that they can nail to their mast. But so many young men these days just have nothing. They have no personality, they have no skills, no talents, no character. And it's I think that's where the value of sport comes in particular, because that can give a young man the opportunity to turn his life around and like really make something of himself. Um, and yeah, just going back to Alexander Usyk, he's someone who I praise a lot because he's an example of that. Um, and yeah, it's just recognizing the value in something, but then in that same point, like not idolizing someone, because ultimately person is just a human being. Um, I don't want to like sound like I'm toot my own horn or anything, or like being really up myself, because I'm not. I'm quite a modest person. I try to be. Um, but like I've never seen someone as being above me. Like I've looked at athletes who I admire, or I don't want to say celebrities, but public figures who may do something. I'm like, you know what? That's I admire that. I look up to that. Um, but I've always seen it through the lens of I could do that myself. And I know that sounds wild. That sounds so crazy, but that's just the truth. I remember being 15, 16 years old, obviously being quite naive looking back, but I thought I was convinced that I was going to be an elite level professional boxer and that would be my life. And look, I can easily hold my hands up and say, oh, it didn't happen. So I was wrong. But in the moment, at the time, I believed 100%. I had no doubt. And I think maybe it comes down to your personality type. Maybe it comes down to your what do you call it? Your upbringing, combination of two, and plus other factors. But I've never understood the psychology of putting someone on a pedestal and be like, I like worshipping that person. Tyson Fury, his fans are just despicable because they talk absolute rubbish. Their IQ is it's in the negatives, but it's also the fact that they worship another man. That's just really weird. So weird. But that's part of the culture today, particularly in the West. And I guess it has gone further than that, but it's like the whole celebrity worship stuff. That really just it freaks me out more than anything. No, I couldn't be with a woman who looked up to another woman as um like some kind of female icon. Like, you know how so many girls look up to like Rihanna, Beyonce. It's like, no, that's weird. Uh, but then people call me weird because I'm like the most antisocial person alive. But hey, rant over. We got JD. Oh no, J98. Got JD as well. Um, I'm not bad, Jay. I'm not bad. How you doing, my friend? It's been a little while. I was just telling the others about how my channel almost got suspended from the YouTube partnership program, but we're back. So just enjoying the live stream. Let's what I'm gonna do. Obviously, we can talk about anything this live stream. I don't really care too much. It doesn't have to be boxing, just as long as it's nothing too explicit or R rated or X rated. Because one thing I've noticed is my live streams, the algorithm on live streams is really, really sensitive. Like uh I can swear, I can cuss, I can curse in my videos, and as long as it's not too early in the video, I'll get away with it. And I've got videos that are monetized, and I swear in them quite openly. I don't even censor it. Whereas on a live stream, if I don't even have to swear. If I just talk about something that's ever so slightly, near a boundary, it'll probably get demonetized or limited monetization. So, but in terms of topics, we can talk about whatever we want. Um, so, Jay, I'll condense it because everyone's heard it already. But basically, YouTube, the algorithm, I imagine, flagged my content as being repetitive, and they basically said my content is basic and unoriginal. That's me paraphrasing, but that's what they said. And so I had to prove that the content I make is my own and that it isn't repetitive, because if you go on the actual video section, you'll see nearly every video covers a different topic, or even if it's a similar topic, it's different enough. And it's my own unique commentary. So even though it's not educational, it's people tune in to hear what I have to say. Like, yes, I may be boring, but nevertheless, some of you guys want to hear what my thoughts are. That was all. It was nothing serious, but it did. I was a bit puzzled by it, and I won the appeal straight away because it was baseless. So there we go. Overtrain says I'd look up to Rihanna if I was lying flat in bed, theoretically. To be fair, Rihanna's not even all that, in my opinion, because that's the thing. Like, I don't know if we got into Rihanna, obviously, but girls seem to love Rihanna. I don't think she's much. I don't think she's a great singer. I don't really like her voice. I don't think she's really much of a songwriter because I know a lot of her most popular songs have been written by someone else. Like Sia has written a lot of Rihanna's songs, from what I've heard. Um, and on top of that, I don't think she has any kind of X factor. She's just a girl from the Caribbean who got really popular, as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, and she's not really my type. So overtrained, she's all yours. Daniel says the reality of the celebrity industry should be taught in schools. So many children grow up believing celebrities are something to aspire to be. And I genuine, yeah, it probably does. It probably does. I think there is an innocence in wanting to be a celebrity as a child because obviously, I think that's just a reflection of your instinctive understanding of the social hierarchy. And so, to be a celebrity, you're going to be pretty high up that hierarchy, and therefore, that's just going to make life easier in the sense of you're going to have more resources, you're going to be um, seen as more valuable in the eyes of a potential mate. So I get that, but it's when it becomes really deeply ingrained in a person. Like I've met people, young people, so my age and younger, and they are actually actually obsessed with being famous, and that's why they will do anything to try and get there. You know, all kinds of just nonsense and I'm trying not to swear, but just crazy-ish, stupid-ish to be famous, and it's pathetic and it's sad because you're making a fool out of yourself, or you're. There was some one donut, complete idiot. I think he might actually be retarded, or he have some kind of mental impairment. So I probably shouldn't rag on him too hard. But it's this guy. I think his name was Mizzy, something like that, some young black kid, and he was filming himself doing like these public pranks. These weren't pranks, these were crimes where he was trespassing, where he'd go in someone's house and sit down on their sofa, and it's all that kind of stuff. And I think he went on Piers Morgan, and the whole thing was just an absolute, it was a circus. It was just but yeah, just desperate to be famous, absolutely desperate, and it's sad and pathetic. And you guys, I know what you're doing. I know what you're doing. You're trying to make me go on these rants. So I'm gonna be I'm gonna be picking my words quite carefully. Otherwise, I'll be getting this live stream demonetized in no time. Even I don't even get that much. I keep talking about monetization on YouTube. Um, from these live streams, I don't actually get that much money. So sound like a bit of a virtue signaler here, but if I was to do a video, I'd get more money than doing a live stream. But I do the live streams because it allows me to engage with you guys better. So I hope you appreciate that. All right, an actual boxing question. I was thinking about this on the way home because I'll be honest, I actually forgot it was coming up. But you know what? I'm having a tough time picking a winner on this one. I just off the bat, this is off the top of my head. I haven't done any homework, any kind of film study. I think this could probably be a controversial win, like one where people probably use the R word, which is very annoying. But I do think Catterall probably wins this one by a very close decision. Um, yeah, I think it's not that he's going to be not have it. It's not that he won't have a case for winning. I just think it'll be really close, and probably both guys will have a lot of success. But I think Catterall, he's kind of awkward. I think he's quite a bit bigger than Prograis. Haven't been paying attention, so I haven't seen them side by side. But I think Catterall's just a bit bigger, um, and he has that I really don't like watching Catterall fight. I'll be honest. I didn't mind the Josh Taylor fight. But other than that, he just as a personality and as a fighter, I just don't care for Catterall. Whereas Prograis, I always really liked him because he has that kind of old school mentality. And on his day, I want to say like 2017, 2018, Regis Prograis was, and even 2019, he was a real formidable fighter. Like even on paper, he's a hard punching southpaw who's slick, got good defense, and is a counter puncher. I think the only weakness Prograis had was his work rate was, I'm not even going to say suspect. It was just It was just it just wasn't as great, and that was quite strange for someone who fought in such a relaxed manner. But we saw that in the Josh Taylor fight back in 2019, where Taylor started to push the pace, and you just saw Prograis faded a bit. Although I do think that Prograis did win that fight, but Prograis now he's what 35. I think he's faded a bit, and yeah, I think Catterall, this is probably his moment to win. But at the same time, he's in against a guy who knows his way around a boxing ring and is quite dangerous. Um, so I think Catterall will win, but I think it's going to be close enough that people are like, oh, you know what? I think it could have gone to Prograis, but we'll see. Um, but yeah, I'm somewhat intrigued to see this one, so I probably won't watch it live. I'll catch up with it afterwards. Um, but yeah, I think Prograis's day is been and gone, but he probably will have some success. Stat Skiller. I have a feeling that Usyk will stop Fury in the rematch. You know what? I don't even think that's that far fetched because me personally, I struggle to see how Fury is any better in the rematch. I hold my hands up and I'll say it again. I've said it before. I don't think the rematch happens. I know we've had a press conference, but we had a press conference the last time or the time before when it got delayed. So yeah, I don't. I'm just not confident that it happens anyway. But should it go ahead, I mean, I'd firmly be picking Usyk to win. I did before, and I have picked him for years. Um, Maybe Fury can be more aggressive, but then surely that's just going to present Usyk with more opportunities to counterpunch, and we know that Usyk has more than enough power to hurt Fury. Is Fury's is his punch resistance going to be any better now? I don't think so. Even if he's heavier. So yeah, I just and Fury doesn't look like he's in shape to me. He looks kind of I mean he hasn't looked strong and sturdy for a while, but he just looks like he's gone backwards. So I mean, we saw how he reacted to the loss. You know, he was eating pavement, stumbling around like he was actually drunk, you know, completely paralytic. So I think he's just set himself back. Um so yeah, I'm not confident the rematch happens. And even if it does, I'm going to pick Usyk again, and I think he'll be even more even more handily. Yeah, the overtrained. Good point there. I found people are generally people are happy to give celebrities credit for inspiration, yet they won't give props to their circle. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with taking inspiration, but it's when inspiration becomes worship. That's when it becomes very retarded, in my opinion, and a bit. That's when it becomes brain rot. You know, that's what the kids say these days is brain rot. Joseph King, how you doing, my friend? All the celebrities endorsing very clearly incompetent presidential candidate. Yeah, I don't care about politics. A load of nonsense. And so anyone who endorses anything to do with it, I'm just like, get away from me, you idiot. What I make of streamers? Hey, streamers are doing their thing. Some of them can be a little bit of a, they can be a bit autistic sometimes with the way they, you get like certain YouTubers and they basically just scream their heads off in their content. Like KSI used to be like that. I, I'll be honest, like when I was 14, 15, I was watching KSI because I found him hilarious. But then it got to a point where in like 2015, 16, all he'd do was scream like a madman in his videos. I'm like, this is not funny. Maybe if you're 6 years old, you find this hilarious. He's got this random black guy screaming on camera. Wow. But no, I don't find that funny anymore. But some streamers, you know, you the streamers who I think of are like Asmongold, I think his name is. There's Tyler One. He's an actual autist, I think. Um, who else? That speed guy. I don't know who these people are. You know, they're I don't tune into these people, so I know their names and I know what they look like. They get massive followings. They have like millions of subscribers. I can't hate on that. As long as you're not taking from someone else and you're not being dishonest, people are going to follow you if you entertain them. It's that's like even I have a following. Someone as boring as me, someone as antisocial as me, I have a following just because people want to hear what I have to say. So I can't begrudge anyone who has a much bigger following than me because they're probably more entertaining. You know, if you ask 100 people, 1,000 people, so on. So yeah, they're doing their thing just as long as they're not uh, doing anything dishonest or unethical. Yeah. Do you think, man? Did I see the odds on Beterbiev Bivol? Beterbiev was a 5-4 underdog. I placed 50 on Beterbiev. All right. That's yeah, see, I thought Beterbiev would win. I thought he would stop Bivol late. When I watched it live, I thought Beterbiev won. I watched it back and I thought Bivol won. And some joker, some absolute donut, he in the comment section of my reaction video, he was like, maybe you should watch it with the sound off so you're not influenced by the commentary because it's clear that your emotions, got the better of you. I'm thinking, mate, actually listen to the video and you'll hear that I said one of the benefits of watching it on replay once it's been uploaded is being able to watch it on mute because that's exactly what I did, you idiot. Freaking retard. It's like, I swear these people don't actually listen to what I say sometimes. They just look at the title of the video and, oh, I disagree with that. Like, I know, actually listen to what I have to say, and then you'll realize that, oh, I did watch it without sound, and so therefore I wasn't influenced by the commentary anyway. And just make yourself look like an idiot in the comment section. So, yeah, it's just what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way is this is a very close fight. So I was struggling right up to the last minute to pick a winner, and I just had to go with Beterbiev. But at the same time, if you factor in, he's the older guy. He's had quite a, he's been at it for a while now. So he's got a few miles on the clock. Plus, his body's like looking a bit suspect now in terms of his resilience. So, yeah, it was always going to be a tough one to split. Um, who would I pick to beat? Who would you pick to beat Usyk right now, if anyone? I think there are probably a couple of guys who could do it. For the longest time, and I know this sounds kind of wacky, but I always thought that Frank Sanchez would have a decent chance. But I don't know how he's going to be coming back because he was clearly injured in that Caballel fight. And I've got nothing against Caballel, but you could see the man walked in with a knee brace and his legs were gone before the fight even started. So that's the thing. Like he relies on his mobility. Um, oh, who would I pick to beat Usyk? I think it needs to be someone who's physical, someone who doesn't think too much. I think uh but at the same time, it has to be someone who's in my opinion, someone who can get down to the same level as Usyk. That's why Daniel Dubois had a decent amount of success. And now, yes, I maintain that that was a low blow that put Alexander Usyk down. I categorically disagree with anyone who says that that wasn't a low blow and that was a valid shot. It clearly wasn't. But that's old news. But Dubois did have success aside from that, success, quote unquote, in many people's eyes. Because if you notice, he's actually able to get down to a similar level. I mean, the height difference isn't massive, but even then, he was fighting out of a little bit of a crouch, and I think that's where Usyk, not that he's vulnerable there, but you can have success because when he's in against these bigger guys like AJ, like Fury, to some degree, he's able to get under their shots. Whereas if a fight is able to get under him, could have some success. Derek Chisora did that partly, even though Chisora's got quite a unique style where he kind of just throws caution to the wind, but then that's the element of like not thinking too much. So I think not that I'd pick him to beat Usyk, but I think he could have a decent amount of success. Is Martin Bakoli, just the way he approaches boxing. Some people say he's like a bit of a modern day George Foreman. Maybe a little bit of a stretch, but I get the idea where he kind of marauds forward. He throws a lot of punches, clearly has a lot of power. The only thing that the only reservation I have is seeing the kind of success that Jared Anderson had against Bacoli, especially when Anderson was fighting out of the southpaw stance. He didn't really have much trouble landing the left hand, and so part of me thinks that Usyk, even though he might have rough moments against Bacoli, he's probably accurate enough, um, agile enough, and has a good enough work rate to keep up a decent amount of offense and keep Bacoli off. So I can't think of anyone else right now. Don't get me wrong, there are definitely guys who have a decent chance of beating Usyk purely by virtue of the fact that Usyk is of an advanced age now. But yeah, I think for the most part, Usyk, he'll probably retire undefeated, assuming that he doesn't carry on for too long. If he has one or two fights left, I think he could retire undefeated. But obviously, it depends what the circumstances are. Um, Overtrained. If I knew the process, I'd super chat you, mate. Your vid's a top. That I greatly appreciate that. Just the sentiment alone is, I appreciate that. It's very heartwarming to know that I'm not putting you guys to sleep and that you actually enjoy my opinion, because that's all it is. Like I'm just here, laptop and a mic, talking rubbish into it. But Prime, Usyk versus Hey Prime for Prime, who wins? That is tough. For the longest time, I always thought Hey stylistically would have the advantage, just because Hey was, he gets a lot of flack, but on his day, Hey was the man. He was a fantastic fighter. But then part of me thinks I wouldn't be surprised if Usyk would be able to break him down, because Hey always had heart, but he was vulnerable and he didn't have the best work rate. And so it wouldn't surprise me if Usyk was able to get out the early rounds and maybe block or move out the way, evade Hay's best shots. Because David Hay's one of those guys where he was a massive puncher, but he had to put his heart and soul into every punch. Like, look at freeze frames of David Hay punching and the grimace on his face, the bloody veins popping out of his neck and his shoulders, the way he's really forcing it. You get some punches and they are effortless. Someone like a George Foreman, let's say, um, can just throw a punch out there and it's, maximum damage, critical hit. Whereas if Hay, he was a fantastic puncher, but he was having to wrench, just tearing his body apart, actually, literally in some instances, um, to land his power punches. And I just, that's why his work rate was always a bit sus. And I think if Usyk could get out the early rounds, he'd probably be able to kind of break Hay down with his accuracy of his counter punching, but you'd have to be very careful. So I'd maybe edge Usyk, but if you ask me tomorrow, I might say, hey, it just depends. But I know I'd pay good money to see that if it could be made, prime for prime, some kind of time machine. We got G Man. I'm a little bit behind the chat, but it's good to have you here, mate. I'm going to start getting through these a bit quicker. Progress should win on volume, but Catterall gets dodgy decision. Maybe it wouldn't surprise me. Imagine having Hearn Sam Jones as your mouthpiece and you still can't sell a fight. Exactly. I'd rather watch paint dry than listen to Jack Catterall. The guy is so boring. He's so boring. Like he's doing his thing, good for him. But when someone's so boring that you don't even want to look at their face because you're just like, I've had enough of you. That's how I feel about Jack Catterall. Hold on, guys. I'm dying for the toilet right now, so I'm going to go and relieve myself, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. I don't know if you could tell, but I was holding it in for so long. And that's why I started talking quicker and quicker and getting more animated because I actually really needed to go. But yes, yeah, Jack Catterall. Just nah, not for me. Um, Progray's other weakness was cutting off the ring. Yes, yes, Jay, that is so true. He never couldn't. I remember there were times. When was it? When he fought Relic in 2019. Um, he had that fight in the bag. Like he just couldn't miss. He was landing big punches, big counters, hurt Relic at will, pretty much. And when Relic was like reeling, it was comical. And Prograis just he just doesn't have the technique or the presence of mind. And he just there was one point where he was actually following Relic around in a circle. It's like, mate, what are you doing? That is I don't know, as I say, whether he's just never developed the technique or whether he just rushes. But yeah, his ability to cut off the ring was non-existent. Um, Daniel Wood says Matchroom on life support right now. Yeah, they are. Matchroom are just, phew. And you know what it is? It's Eddie Ahern's own fault because he just didn't have an eye on the future. You know, he was concerned with this kind of smash and grab attitude of, signing influencers to be his commentary team, not understanding what the boxing consumer wants, but rather trying to guess what young people want, but young people who aren't even interested in boxing. And I can understand why, kind of, but it was a gross miscalculation. And it was really like, mate, Eddie, give your head a shake because you're making awful decisions right now. Excuse me. Um, Philip, at the press conference, Regis revealed some audio of Sam Jones, Jack's manager, saying that Catterall would get knocked out by Prograis Longo. Yeah, I heard about that. I didn't actually see it, but I heard people talking about it. Um, I actually don't mind Sam Jones. I think he's all right. I've always tried to tune into his interviews because sometimes they can be kind of insightful. And I feel like when it's a big fight, he sometimes does a good job of like separating and he's quite impartial. But yeah, I think there is a bit of a naivety about Sam Jones where he'd do something like that and not consider at the time how that could come back to bite him on the arse. But hey, boxing's just one of those sports. That's why you always have to be a little bit tight-lipped with what you say because you never know when you're gonna, form new allegiances or when you're gonna make new enemies. So that's why you know, uh, boxing promoters and politicians they really go hand in hand. But there we go. It's the nature of it. Where's John Fury? I don't know, and I don't care because John Fury is insufferable. The man is a complete tool, and I'm glad I don't see him anymore. So, if you really want to know, I'd say ask G Man because G Man probably knows. Speaking of G Man, says Sheridan is convinced the Don is the savior. I thought, yeah, that's really disappointing. I haven't seen that, but um, that is yeah, I just shake my head at that. I don't really have much to say. Joseph King. I always thought Joshua was too big, strong, and athletic for Ali, but now I have a feeling Ali would be a horrible style for Joshua to deal with. Who would your money be on? I've got to be honest. I see. I'm going to take this back actually because in June, after Deontay Wilder got absolutely splattered by Zhang, I made that video about how what was it? Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder deserve their beatings. And some people agreed with that, the points I made in that video. Other people didn't, which is fine. But one thing that people had a big issue with was the fact that I said heavyweights today are bigger, stronger, faster, and better technically. And a lot of people came down on me like a ton of bricks. They're like, this guy's a professional waffler. He doesn't know what he's talking about. This guy's yapping. This guy's that. I actually misspoke. What I meant to say was the big heavyweights of today are bigger, better, more explosive, more technical than the big heavyweights of yesteryear. So I did like as I say I misspoke, but I stand by it nevertheless because if you look at the big heavyweights from before, they were. what do you call it? A lot of them were quite cumbersome. They were like just big giants, like just big men who were like slow, cumbersome, but they could really whack, and they were probably quite tough. Whereas I feel like in this day and age, it is a very unique kind of heavyweight silhouette we have, in the sense like you have these big guys who are 6'6" plus. They're fast, they're explosive, they hit really hard, and they're technically gifted. Like heavyweights are never going to be as technical as the lighter weights. They're not able to coordinate their body in many instances the same way that a smaller person would. But then if we look at Muhammad Ali, he was considered like I guess you could say, a big heavyweight in his day. Not the biggest, but you know, at 6'3", what was Ali like in the two teens in his prime? Um, he was he used to fight a tall man's style, I feel, and I don't know how well he'd be able to deal with someone who's taller than him and big and strong and athletic. So I know people are going to call me an AJ nut hugger and a fanboy, just like they always do. But I just think I actually feel the other way around. I think stylistically, um, AJ would be difficult for Ali. And look, Ali's a legend, head and shoulders above virtually every heavyweight in history. But styles make fights, and I don't know. I don't see how Ali's style deals well with a lot of the big heavyweights that present heavyweights like Joshua and so on. Um, so yeah, just my opinion though. So Overtrain says we love this boring stuff, my guy. Hey, that's great because I can talk like this all day, um, and I appreciate that. Philip Fury said that his wife had a miscarriage before the fight, and it might have had an effect on him. Do you believe in that? I mean, maybe, maybe, but what has a bigger effect, in my opinion, is uh, the drink, the recreational substances, the lack of discipline, the junk food, the blowing up in weight, or I shouldn't say blowing up, should I? Um, but yeah, all that stuff, in my opinion, is going to have a much bigger effect. And Tyson Fury, he's just that. He's a waffler. He's a compulsive liar. And so, how do we know his wife actually had a miscarriage? Oh, that's a bit near the knuckle because maybe she did. I don't know, but um, yeah, I don't think it has a massive effect. I think the other more tangible things that have had an effect on his body play a bigger role in the way he's mistreated himself over the past few years. Um, I always felt Sanchez had a chance to be a true dark horse. Yeah, yeah, exactly. He looked like he could have done some stuff, but now it's just like, where is this guy going to go from here? Um, Overtrain. What about Miller for Usyk? I mean, I wouldn't mind. I don't really want to see Miller get a title shot because not only because of his history, but also what he's done recently. Lost to Dubois, drew against Ruiz, even though I think he beat Ruiz, and I know many people did. But stylistically, it'd be interesting for sure. Um, I just don't know. I think maybe he'd be a bit too slow. And the thing is about Miller as well is like he's physical and he's strong, but he's not a power puncher, not at all. Um, I think he actually, given his size and his physical presence, he's actually quite a light puncher, relative. So yeah, but it'd be interesting though. It'd be a bit of a freak show. A guy coming up from cruiserweight who's like a really agile mover against this a fat lump in Miller. Although Miller, I think he did look quite good against Ruiz. I was fairly impressed with that performance. Mihai says, "How or asks, how do I rate Caballero?" I think you got to give Caballero credit because he's doing decently well. I don't think his wins against Makhmudov and Sanchez have aged that well. They were good wins in the moment. I was like, yeah, like Caballero's mashing up, like he's putting in work, but they haven't aged well. I'll say that. So, but nevertheless, he's still very capable, and I think there's the thing is with Caballero is he's a good all rounder. He's solid. He doesn't do one thing spectacularly well, but he seems like he willing to get stuck in, and he has a good way of approaching fights. Although, um, I want to say that he kind of approached the two fights in the same way against Makhmudov and Sanchez, even though they're different styles, because he really just got quite physical, invested in the body, and took him out. Um, so I think there's still some questions that he needs to answer. But hey, if he carries on the way he's been going, I think Caballero does deserve quite a bit of credit, and I rate him fairly highly. I'd be surprised if he won a title though, given who's at the top of the division. But who knows? It's heavyweight boxing. But yeah, I think Caballero's good, solid fighter. G man, I wish I could give super chat, but I'm in London. Oh, okay. So it's the admin issues. Never mind, mate. Just you guys tuning in. Um, that's enough for me. Don't have to give me any super chats. That's fine. The cheesy toilet music. Yeah. Uh, the channel's just too low effort for that. Um, maybe I can get Hatman to make me like an elevator music type beat, and I play that whenever I need to go toilet. But yeah, well, for now, you're just gonna have to deal with silence. Um, what do you think are Usyk's top five wins? For me, Bradis, AJ, Fury, Hunter, Gassiev. Uh, I think that's a good list you've got there. I'd agree with most of the names. I think I don't know if it's his best win, but I think it's his best performance in terms of the way he looked was the first AJ fight, because he Usyk for me, that first AJ fight was peak. I don't think he could get any better. I think that was the best Usyk we'll ever see. Even comparing to his cruiserweight days, I'm talking overall, because he was just on fire that night. Um, and I think I'll go pretty damn far, and I say Usyk on that night um, is probably undefeated out of the current crop of heavyweights. I don't think there's anyone current today who could beat that version of Usyk, because he was just tremendous. Um, but let's get his record up, because I'm not going to rate them in any particular order, but obviously Tyson Fury for all the marbles, that's a good win. The first AJ fight, Gassiev, Bradis. Um, you know what? I think with the Hunter win, it was good, but I'd be maybe inclined to swap it with Glavatsky, given the context, because that was like his first run. This is like the Usyk roadshow starts here when he went to Poland and beat Glavatsky up, and that was an undefeated Glavatsky as well. Um, so yeah, I'd say that Hunter and Glavatsky for me are interchangeable, but the rest, yeah, Bradis, fantastic fighter. Um, Gassiev, also a fantastic fighter, but I think that's a slightly lesser win. I think Bradis is a better fighter than Gassiev. Um, and then, yeah, AJ Fury. Oh, excuse me. Sneeze there. The overtrained DeGale versus Froch, who we pick him. I always thought that DeGale would be able to tie Froch up in knots. And back in the day, like 2015, when that fight was being spoken about, I I always thought that De Gea would be able to outslick and outskill Froch, but Froch would catch up to him and probably knock him out. But then I think at the time, I don't think we had a good measure of how tough De Gea was physically, because he was never the strongest guy or the most physical guy. Um, but he was tough, like teak tough. Saw that in the Durrell fight, not so much, but definitely there. But the Badu Jack fight, that was a measure. And even the Caleb Truax's first fight, excuse me, you saw how physically robust De Gale was in terms of the amount of punishment he could take. And now none of those guys punch like Froch. None of them are as relentless as Froch. So I guess it's still up in the air. But I'd give De Gale a good chance, because I think he could probably outslick Froch. He could probably outbox him, and if push came to shove, he might be able to last the distance, and survive the late Froch onslaught, which would probably be inevitable. So I'd probably edge towards De Gale, but I wouldn't put my house on it because Froch, he wasn't called the Cobra for nothing. He was the real deal. So yeah, I'd probably be like 51-49 in favor of Froch. No, in favor of De Gale, excuse me. But then, does De Gale have the power to keep Froch honest? We saw that someone in George Groves, who's a much bigger puncher than De Gale, even Froch was able to get through his punches by the skin of his teeth in some instances, but nevertheless, he could stand up to that firepower. Daniel Wood says a wolf chasing down Bison to the point of exhaustion. That's Usyk with this versus these heavyweights. Well, yeah, it seemed like for a while, probably, but I think people are willing to face Usyk now. Um, Not that they're chomping at the bit to, but I think if the opportunity came, a lot of fighters would probably take that fight because, yeah, Usyk's great, and he's a difficult guy to beat. But there's money, there's legacy on the line, so I think that's enough incentive for many of the top heavyweights. Um, although that being said, Tyson Fury wasn't keen. He ducked Usyk for a long time, and we should never forget that. At the start of his sentence, he did say, "I'm not making excuses." Okay, so why why say that if you're going to make one anyways? Yeah, yeah, there you go. Um, that is the mind of a fighter. Outmatch. I get what you're saying about Ali fighting the big man's fight. Thinking of it though, wouldn't Ali's feet give AJ sensory overload? Maybe, but to AJ's credit, he's always been very good with his balance and his coordination. For a big man, I don't think he ever got the credit for those attributes from an offensive or a mobility perspective. So I always personally, and I spoke about this years ago, back in 2021 when the first Usyk fight was coming up. I always gave AJ out of Fury, Wilder, and Joshua. I always gave AJ the best chance of beating Usyk because I felt like he had the coordination necessary to keep up with him. And so when Usyk beat AJ the way he did, my confidence in Usyk to beat Fury just skyrocketed. So I was like, yeah, that is the hardest fight for him stylistically out of those three. Um, and yeah, I might not have been on the money completely, but I was confident that Usyk would beat Fury for years. Like you guys, I'm sure many of you have been with on this channel from the start. You know that I was always saying that, and it happened. Um, so yeah, I'm not sure about that. I think AJ would, for the most part, probably be able to keep up with Ali, even if he's not like fighting at the same pace as him. Maybe he could cut off the ring. Maybe he could stay in front of Ali. But we'll never know. So it's sad. Um, yeah, that's another one. The Dubois win, especially, that's aged really well. And so that's why some fights are an investment. Because if you fight a guy now, like I'm sure Usyk at the time last year, obviously much rather would have fought Tyson Fury, but Tyson Fury didn't, and so Usyk understanding that it's heavyweight boxing and all it takes is a couple of performances and you're back in the money. He's probably like, you know what, I'm going to fight this young Dubois kid. I'm going to beat him, and it's going to make me look even better because he probably still has enough time to do something decent, and that's exactly what happened. Dubois beat Miller, beat Hergovich, beat AJ, solidified himself as a champion. But this is someone who Alexander Usyk stopped in what 8 rounds, 9 rounds. There you go. Um, Machunu is a good win because a lot of people look at Machunu and are like, "Who's this midget? Who's this cruiserweight garden gnome?" But if you know boxing, you know Machunu was good. He was the real deal. Not a champion, but a very tough ask for a lot of fighters, and he beat some decent fighters himself. The Machunu of 2014 to 2016, yeah, that guy was money. Um, And yeah, Bellew's all right. You know, that's all we say about him. Usyk versus Joshua 1 was just mesmerizing. He looked amazing. And yes, that's the thing. Yeah, that was peak Usyk. Just that's that was an amazing fighter who reached his peak and was in flow state on the night. Because all the moving parts were just firing on all cylinders. The hands, the feet, the head. He came out and he landed his money punch, split the jab on AJ in like 5 seconds. That's how you win a fight. That's how you go to someone's backyard and just wrap his belts. That's how you do it. And that was just what a performance. I've watched that fight so many times because technically there are just so many details. You're like, damn, this guy is good. What we learned from Fury last week is that he would 100% he would have 100% pulled out of Usyk one without the 10 million fine. Probably. And now I don't know if they have any kind of penalty should one of them pull out in the rematch. But surely after he's just been paid from the first fight, he's not going to care about, say, a 10 million fine in the rematch. And now I'm not saying I hope he pulls out. I just don't have any confidence that the fight goes ahead. So yeah, we'll uh, we'll have to see. I think Ali's footwork, feints, and hand speeds will trouble Joshua. Also, Prime Ali had a tremendous work rate and was able to go 50 rounds. Yeah, these are all valid points. I'm just not sure about how would Ali stand up to Joshua's offense. Would he be able to take a flush Joshua punch? And now you say, oh, it's a big assumption to make that Joshua actually lands, but I don't know. Joshua is very capable offensively. You can see even on one of his worst nights against Daniel Dubois, he still managed to get that right hand through. Would Muhammad Ali be able to take that same right hand from AJ that Dubois did? Would he take it as well? Not so well? I don't know. These are valid questions, I think. Machunu was robbed against Makabu. Should have been world champion. I don't think this is really bad of me. I don't think I actually watched the rematch because I I remember I wanted to. I was intrigued because the first fight, um, that was pretty dramatic. Because I think in the first fight, did Makabu knock him out in the last round? Let me check. Uh, because I remember Machuna was giving him the business, and then no, it was round 11. And so I was intrigued to see the rematch, but I could never find a copy. And you know when you haven't seen a fight, and then just too much time elapses, and you're just like, I don't really care anymore. Um, I think that Fury coming in heavy would be a mistake. Potentially, I don't think. I don't think it's going to be very clever. I can understand why, because if he wants to be more aggressive and more physical, then yeah. But then, what is he going to sacrifice? Is he going to sacrifice his mobility? Is he going to sacrifice his speed? 'Cause I know Fury's quite slick. He's quite smooth, but being heavy is it's not going to do great things for your speed. Or maybe he's just trying to be more energized. Maybe he feels as if he lost too much weight and it drained him of his, punch resistance. And sometimes you can be really light and aesthetically you look good, but you've just drained too much of your resources internally and you're just like, you're not firing properly. You're just a bit drained. That's it. So, I don't know, but I think regardless, Fury's between a rock and a hard place. And that's how it is when you're fighting at the elite. Sometimes you have two options that present themselves, and you're like, you know what, neither one of these is going to be an easy option. Um, but hey, that's boxing, man. That's what sports like at the highest level. All right, chaps. I think we'll go for a couple more minutes. So if you have any questions or points, um, then leave them in the chat. And I'm just going to get to these last few because I've had a good time. It's been good to catch up with you guys, but I need to unwind and enjoy my week off because I need a break. Where does the best version of Iron Mike end up in today's heavyweight division? Same thing as the Ali point from earlier. I'm not sure how well Mike Tyson deals with the big heavyweights of today. Because yeah, Mike Tyson fought guys who were 6'4", 6'5", 6'6", but a lot of them were like skinny bean poles, and they were movers, and they weren't really renowned punchers. Whereas these guys, they're big, they're the same size as or bigger than the biggest opponents Mike Tyson had on his record. But these guys are athletes, and they're explosive, and they're hard punchers. Like, look at someone like Zhilei Zhang, someone with freakish power, and who's a good technician as well. Not as good a technician as Mike Tyson, but I don't know, man. I think Mike Tyson probably would do fairly well, just the um, given the uniqueness of his style. Because Mike Tyson was a phenom, athletically and technically, and so that came together to make just a fantastic fighter, an all-time great fighter. Um, and yeah, I think overtrained. I think all of us are just ever so slightly delusional Iron Mike Tyson fanboys. It's just been ingrained into every boxing fan. You know, the prime Mike Tyson part of our brain. You know, always gives him the benefit of the doubt. But I think he would be decent, but I don't think he'd be top dog. I just I can't see it. I think it's just a little bit unrealistic. Yeah, spinal. That's so Mike Tyson unintentionally funny. Spinal. Some very weird quotes attached to Mike Tyson though. JD, that's a shame because I'm about to shut this one down. But life is good, man. I'm just busy. I'm busy. I finished my master's degree. Your boy got a distinction, of course, because I wasn't going to settle for anything less. Um, but yeah, I finished uh my last assignment about when was it, like first or second week of September, and I've just gone into working 5 days a week, and I work Saturdays as well, like doing a half day. So I'm busy. I basically just live like a middle-aged divorced man because I go to work, I train, I eat, I go to bed. Um, a very simple life, but hey, that's it's better than what most have, so I'm going to appreciate it. Um, can AJ come back from the Dubois defeat? Um, I don't think he gets back to the highest level. I'll be honest. He can probably get another win if he fights uh, Dylan White, if he fights Deontay Wilder, maybe even if he fights Jarrell Miller, maybe. But I think his championship reign and his days as a world champion are done. I say that. I think it's quite clear to see. Um, yeah, I think Anthony Joshua. He had his go. He did his best, but that's it. Nothing lasts forever. Audley Harrison versus Charles Martin. Who wins? Uh, um, I might be inclined to pick Charles Martin. Yeah, I think I don't have any faith in Audley Harrison. He had a puncher's chance, I guess, but I'd probably go with Martin. Um, yeah, I'd have to I'd have to do my homework. I'm not saying I want to, but I'd have to look over that one. But I'd probably go with Charles Martin. Um, all right. Yeah, hopefully university pays off. Well, you know what? I was saying that before, but I'll make it pay off. I mean, I'm already getting paid more. I like not to brag, but I've already like tripled my wages or my income rather. So like that's good enough. In another year, I'll try and triple it again. So yeah, let's all just be like Nigerians and be money makers. That's what we need to do. Um, Overtrained said, hurt my feelings with the Tyson breakdown. I'm going to do 5 rounds on a heavy bag to get calm. That's it. And make sure you watch like 10 Mike Tyson tribute highlight videos before you do it. and then just wail away on the bag, doing your best Tyson impression. Um, Overtrained, thank you. Yeah, it was a tough year, definitely. Like my 4 year undergraduate was manageable, but the last year, for like personal reasons as well, was just rough, so rough. So came away, stuck to it, and got the job done. Um, yeah, JD, I'm an S&C coach, so I'm a strength and conditioning coach. Um, I've been working in the same place for over a year now, but I've basically like taken over. So like I'm, as I say, not to toot my own horn, but I'm kind of calling the shots now. So there's like I'm my own boss, and so a lot more responsibility, but a lot more money. So what's not to love? I do like my job. I enjoy it, but always trying to move forward, make improvements, get more money, and yeah, get the most out of life, which is what I'm going to do for the rest of the day. So, boys, thank you so much. It's been a while, but it's good to know you're all doing okay. And I'll chat to you soon. So, appreciate you all for locking in for the past hour and 10 minutes. Enjoy your weekends. Behave. I know Halloween's coming up, so you're probably going to be going to some Halloween parties. But yes, thanks for joining me, and I'll catch you on the next one, fellas. Have a good evening.